Hello, this video is a training video for taking meeting minutes with Microsoft Office OneNote. As a project manager, I've been on many calls hosting, facilitating, taking the meeting minutes, distributing the meeting minutes, and ultimately responsible for housing all of the meeting minutes for the project. Microsoft Office OneNote, has really helped me get an efficiency around that process. And also, I've seen some, really appreciative business partners when I've done the techniques that I'm going to show you, because it gives them a little bit more details and it's efficient. And all around, when you have something that's efficient and good quality, your business partners, and your whole project will benefit. Because I'm going to use a lot of terminology that's around project managers, just know that this can also be utilized by anybody that's taking meeting minutes for any reason. If you have to take a lot of meeting minutes, please feel free to continue listening to the video and pick up these pointers. So this video is going to be broken down into a few segments. The overview of OneNote will be first, then followed by creating a new notebook, setting up an agenda, taking the meeting minutes themselves, including attachments, distributing the meeting minutes after the meeting, grouping inside of OneNote, searches if you have to go back and search for something, weeks later when was something discussed, saving the meeting minutes as some other format other than OneNote, setting up some templates, and then finally closing a notebook. So with that, let's get started on the overview. And basically, if you haven't heard or utilized OneNote or any sort of note-taking application itself, OneNote is kind of like the concept of the three-ring binder from either your college years, your high school years, your kids, seeing your kids going back to school with those big three-ring binders that has many tabs going down the right-hand side. It's kind of like that, only in electronic format. So let me show you. Let me go ahead and open it up. For those that have never opened it up, you can just type in the search, click. I'm using OneNote 2010. It's the version that I have on my laptop. Microsoft also has a free version of OneNote. Just know that there's some differences between the two versions. The free version, I think, only goes to the Microsoft OneDrive cloud where you can save data. The Pro versions will let you go to other locations, such as your own PC, a SharePoint site, your Works network drive, etc. So this is the overall view of the OneNote. And obviously, if you're going to start up a new section to take notes, you obviously want a new notebook. So these are the notebooks, by the way. I have one called Templates. I have one called Project One. And these are the sections. These are the areas that it's the right-hand side of that three-ring binder kind of concept for Project One. Meeting minutes, approvals, etc. Over here to the right is the pages, the individual pages. So if you need to add a new page, you would just simply click New Page, and it adds a new page. I don't need one at a time, so I'm just going to hit Delete. And then here are the pages that I already have. So, but let's go into the concept of I'm going to getting ready to start the first meeting for a new project. So obviously, I'm going to have to set up a new notebook. To do that, I just simply go up to File, New. Now, I'm not going to go Web or Network. I'm just going to go to my computer, and I'm going to create a new project, new notebook name. And I'm just going to call that project number 2, just to make it simple. I'm going to leave it at the location that I already have, and then I'm just going to simply click Create Notebook. And that creates a new notebook. The title is Project 2. The section 1, the new section, is obviously blank. I'm going to double click there, and then I'm going to delete and call this Meeting Minutes, because this will be the section where I house the meeting minutes. Now this section right here is a subject line area, and then this area is I often refer to as the details area. This is actually the area where you type in all the information. The top section is a subject line. It's also what will get used over here on the page name. Now I'm going to minimize this, I should say, and I will show you the location of where everything gets saved. So under Project 2, this is the folder where I have the OneNote saved. It's not saved as you would expect for any sort of individual document, like a Word document, a Excel document, etc. OneNote actually has a folder for each notebook, and then it has each page as a file, and then as you add and remove data, you also see like a little recycle bin folder in there as well. And this open notebook is just a default, so that if you are referring somebody to open up the notebook for sharing, I'll go into that a little bit later when I do grouping and searches, etc. But that's pretty much where the information is, or all the files are saved for the notebook. So now let's go on to getting ready for the meeting. So let's say we got to set up for the agenda. We got to set up prior to the call. I have a notebook called templates. This will be one of the last things I go over, but I have a template of an agenda, which I'm just going to highlight this top section, this box over the details area that highlights everything inside the page. And then I'm just going to simply right click and do the copy, go over to my new untitled page under meeting minutes section, and I'm going to go ahead and hit paste. And that puts that whole template inside. Then at the top on the subject line, I'm going to go ahead and copy that text as well, move down to my current notebook where I'm setting up the meeting minute, and paste that as well. So I'm going to go put in the date, and my subject is going to be Project 2 Kickoff, because that's really what we're going to be going over on this project, or on the call, I should say. So this top section, this section through here, I have this set up as a kind of a header section. So the meeting is basically what the meeting is about. Project 2 Kickoff, hosted by, I'm going to put in John Smith is hosting it, and we'll say it's a conference call. So you can see, you can set these things, you can set this area up, this header row up any way you need to. It's simply just a table. This other section I called updated, I like to leave that in because that's the date when I last make the changes to the meeting minutes, and we'll fill that out after the pretend call. Obviously, date and time of the meeting. So this is at 4 in the afternoon. I've already got my little conference call and NA to the WebEx. And let me just take the bold off of that. So, okay. So now then I just scroll down to the agenda area. I'm going to type in the proposed agenda for the call. So we'll go, let's say discuss scope. Determine project. So, yeah, we're just gonna have two things, for this pretend call. Just, and then the other bullet points that I don't need, I'm just gonna simply delete. So now you're ready for the call to start. So I'm starting the meeting, conference call. Everybody's dialing in, and first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go through roll. See who's on the line. So obviously in this case, I'm pretending to be John Smith, the project manager. So I'm obviously on the call. I'm going to call it, is John Doe there? Yes. Is Jane Doe there? Yes. Is Jane Smith there? Yes. So everybody's on the call. And I'm just clicking in on these on these checkbox areas to indicate that they're on the call. Very simple, very quick. One of the things that I do to really help out with the efficiency is I try to do the typing. And if you're using a tablet or a laptop with a touchscreen, you can do a stylus and handwrite and try and get that to go in. OneNote does have that ability. Also note that OneNote is a syncs back to wherever you save the data. So even if you were to disconnect from your company's network and take this to a conference room, take your laptop to a conference room, if you've already got your this page set up, then you can go ahead and update, and it'll save. And when you go back and you connect back into your network, then it'll resync back to where you have the network folder located at. So OneNote actually has data saved locally and on the network so that it does synchronize. So that it does make it very easy for taking into a conference room. You don't have to worry about, losing the network connectivity. Oh, I don't have internet access, whatever else. As long as you set it up as long as you have everything set up before you start, you're golden. So the meeting's taking place. We're going through our discussion items, or going through our agenda. We discussed scope, new web application, building a new web application scope, and project team list. I'm making this very quick. So during the call, I'm typing during the call, and that really does help out on efficiency. Also, if you're doing something very detailed, such as a requirements gathering session, and it's not just a general initial project kickoff call. If you're doing something very specific, very detailed orientated, and you're the one that's taking the notes, you might want to consider setting up a WebEx or some other type of screen sharing through the call, the meeting, and go ahead and let the team see your meeting minutes as you're typing them, because especially if you're going over with requirements, people see what's being documented, and you can say, yes, that's correct, no, that needs to be adjusted, etc. Throughout the call. So that's one of the things I like about this, is that it's an electronic format. It's pretty easily adjusted to whatever meet your needs, but you can also share it with others as you're typing it, via WebEx, etc., so that they can make sure that they're on the same page as you are taking the meeting minutes. So with that, we'll just say we determined the project team, and like I said, and for the other meeting minutes, these other bullet points that we're not going to use, just going to delete those. So, as you're taking your meeting minutes, as the meeting's going on, you're taking them, you're typing them, or if you need to, you can handwrite them and type them in later. That's up to you. It's just a little bit more efficient if you can type and do the meeting at the same time. But anyway, no matter how you do it, once you get the meeting minutes in, your call is over, you want to go through and kind of scrub, obviously check for spelling. If I were to do something misspelled, like that, it will give the normal, Microsoft underline for something that's misspelled. You can fix that. Also, afterwards, you might be looking at all your meeting minutes and then going, okay, if you want an action items for the next call, basically things that needs to be done for the next call. Like this might be something out of that call, and then just delete the rest. So basically, once you're done with the call, you're just really going to clean it up, and you're going to make everything presentable. And also, let's say, for example, under the section for attachments, during the call, a couple people had emailed out some documents to start showing, saying, hey, this is what needs to be, for reviewing this, etc. So how do you get an attachment into OneNote, some other document into OneNote? Oh, it's very simple. I'm going to go ahead and put the OneNote application to the one side. I have some documents over here on the left that I'm going to attach, or I should say embed into OneNote, such as a requirements document. And all you do is just drag and drop. And when you do that, you will get the following 3 questions of how you want to handle the document insert. Insert a link to the original file, which means that you're actually just inserting a link, and it's going to point back to wherever you have the file saved at. In this case, it's on my desktop. Now, that can be good in certain situations, but not so much for meeting minutes, because if you want to distribute it out, you won't have this embedding of the meeting minutes when you distribute it out. So the other option, which is already pre-selected, insert a copy of the file into the page. That's the one I'm going to use, but just so you know, there's a third option, which is insert the file as a printout so I can add notes to it. This one would literally take all the data there, put it in, embed it as a text, kind of a picture text, and you can take notes on it. For meeting minutes, I wouldn't do that. I would just insert a copy. And this copy is now inserted. This document is now inserted into the OneNote folder, and it's saved onto this page and embedded as part of the OneNote's file folder structure. I'm going to do the same thing with this presentation. Okay, so now the presentation and the Word document are there. Now this, because we selected the copy function, there is no tie back to this desktop. So I can actually go through, I'm going to highlight, and I'm going to delete. Yes, I'm going to delete those files. So you can see when I double click on the OneNote attachment, I will get a little message, typical warning, don't open files, etc. But the document's there. In this case, it was just a real quick test document for this video. And the same thing with the Word document. Very, just something I put a few lines on. But you can see, because I was able to open them up, they are not tied back to these desktop. They weren't tied to these desktop folders. They are in fact embedded into this OneNote folder. So let me go back to full screen. So now we got our attachments. Now we've got all the meeting minutes documented. We've got our action items documented. I'm going to go up and put the date that I actually made the last updates. So now it's okay. How do we distribute this to the team that was on the call? I distributed this to John, Jane, and both Janes. Well, this is actually very simple. OneNote has this email page function. Now again, this is what I said what a page was. This is a page. So all you have to do is simply click the email page button, and Outlook will automatically open up. The subject line is the subject line that was on the page. Same thing. Then we have the actual details below. Okay. And any attachments that were embedded in OneNote on that page in OneNote are now embedded in the email. So again, I can, through the email, open up the page. Presentation, PowerPoint, or the requirements document. Either one, both work. So in one click, you've gotten your meeting minutes, your attachments, all set to go in an email. Then if you have a contact list set up for your project team that's on a standard, your weekly standard meeting, then all you have to do is select that from your contacts, or you simply copy and paste the contact list from the meeting invite in Outlook over. Since I don't really have anybody to send this to, and it's just a training video, I'm just going to close without saving. But that's how easy it is. You just click, once you get the meeting minutes done, you click the email page button. It sets everything up. You just have to type in who you want to send the recipients, and that's it. You send it out. Okay, so we've gone over the overview, the purpose of the video, the overview, creating a new notebook, set up the agenda, taking the meeting minutes, distributing the meeting minutes. Now we're going to take a look at grouping and searches as part of our part of the next section. So grouping is, you have a couple of pages here, and if you're taking, especially on a long project, you're taking a lot of meeting minutes for various calls throughout the week. So this section is going to fill up pretty fast with meeting minutes pages. What you can do is you can go to the new page, and I'm going to select new page, and I would say Q4 2015. Fourth quarter 2015 is what I call this. Now I can move this to the top just by dragging and moving. Click, drag, move. And then on a right click for each page underneath, I get this option to make subpage. What that does is that makes a subpage of this upper page. I'm going to do that for the other one. So now what happens is I get the option to group everything together in that section. So if you're on a very long project, years or multi-years, you can group it into quarters, you can group it in by year, you can group your meeting minutes by years or quarters or even months, so that when that month or when that period is done, you can just go ahead and roll everything into that group, have a new one that says, Q1 2016, and then you start showing those. That way you don't have a lot of scroll line or a lot of meeting minutes to scroll through on the right-hand side. Just a little space saver, a little bit of grouping space saver. And if you don't want it, if you find out later you need to move things around, you can promote, and it's no longer part of that subpage. So just a nice little functionality for grouping. Now searches, which is good since I'm on this two-page template, or not template, this two-page meeting minute section, is if the search for OneNote is actually more robust and quite good at finding the data throughout the pages. Now, anybody that's taking meeting minutes, especially those that have typed them in a Word document and saying them all off as individual files, if you've ever gotten somebody come back and say, when did we discuss this? What meeting did we discuss it? And what date was that? You're going to have to start thinking for yourself, thinking and going through each meeting minute Word document. Well, on OneNote, you don't have to go and open up every single document because they're all in pages and they're all searchable. So, for example, if I just want to I can either look through all my notebooks, which, since I'm only looking for a specific project, a specific note for a specific project, I don't want to do that. I just want to go ahead and go with a section. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to highlight meeting minutes, and then I'm going to click change, and I'm just going to this section. So now you can see I'm only going to be searching meeting minutes for project 1, and to make it real simple to show you on the screen while I'm typing, I'm just going to select the word dough, and you can see where it highlights on the meeting minutes everywhere where it's found dough. If I go to the other meeting minute document, it highlights that as well. So it'll highlight everywhere that it finds the word. Really great, especially if you've got that business partner that comes back and says, I don't remember discussing this. When did we discuss this, and what meeting was that? If you've got something like, well, maybe it was, for example, well, when did we discuss that we were going to use this font? Type in the word font in your search, the meeting minutes, and then there it is. So that's close that. So that's the search capabilities. So the next three items for the video are save as, templates, and closing the notebook. So save as, if one of the places that I've worked at, we required us to save our meeting minutes into a location on a cloud project, portfolio project management tool, but we couldn't send up the entire multiple folders for a OneNote folder. So to comply with the requirement of saving the meeting minutes into that cloud, I would go ahead and export the meeting minutes as a PDF. So to do that, I just went up to File, Save As. I would say Section because I want the whole section of meeting minutes, PDF, Save As, and I'm going to choose Desktop. I'm just going to leave it as the meeting minutes, Save, and we'll go to the desktop, and here's the meeting minutes. Very simple, very easy. It starts out with the Q4. So if you do the grouping with the page, it'll also show group 4, then the meeting minutes underneath that. And if you went down to group 3 or third quarter and you had meeting minutes at that, so it inserts a few breaks in there for people to find different breaks. But it saves it all as a single PDF, not multiple. It's all one long PDF that you can then upload to, in some other location where you cannot save all of these files. So, and the next item is actually, so you've seen how I've taken the meeting minutes. You see me copy this whole detailed section over from a template, from our example earlier, this whole section from a template. So let's go over and just talk templates. This is not a template that I pulled in from Microsoft, or it's not a template that I pulled in from somebody else. I just simply made it. I did so by, delete that. I did so by clicking on a new page and just putting in the information, or I'm sorry, the setup that I wanted to see it as. So my first piece is I wanted a table showing the meeting subject, hosted by, location, WebEx, updated, date and time, conference, information. So that's pretty much this little table. And to set up a table, click down in the details section, go up to insert, and that was and insert the table. And then from there, you can use the cursor to stretch things out as far as you need. Now the table will adjust in size as you add text. If you enter text and tab or and enter, it will increase the height as needed for the text. So that's all this section is, and you can put whatever you need to in here. Whatever you need to. If you need to put some other information at the top, that's fine. Tweak it as whatever you need. Then underneath, I put attendees, some text, and I just did a little screenshot of the checkbox as it looks to give people a notice of how it will be reflected if they attended the meeting. And then again, another table, and then in this time, instead of putting information about the meeting, I just started typing in the attendees. Now the checkbox that's used is actually called a to-do. Back on the home section, there's a list of tags that can be added as part of the details section, and it's the very top one, to do. So this allows putting it next to the name. It'll actually the to-do will actually always go to the left of whatever text you're typing of. So if you're typing, if I put it down here, the check mark's down there, I click it, it's there. I don't want it, I unclick it. Then all you have to do as you're taking the role in the call, simply just go ahead and check mark as we've seen in the example. The attachments, that's just another little table, and the rest of this is just text and very simple bullet points. But that's all I did. I just made a different notebook, called it templates. This is where I would house templates for my different meetings, so that whenever I needed to conduct a new meeting, I could just go into the meeting minutes page, click new page, go back to the template, copy, paste, and there, it's only a few more tweaks, and then I'm ready to take meeting minutes. Okay, so the very last item is actually closing a notebook. Let's say your project's done, you've taken all your meeting minutes with it, you've saved it off, all your meeting minutes as a PDF to comply with your location, your company's procedures for saving meeting minutes into a PDF format, whatever. If you need to, if you don't need to, that's great. But now now you finished the project, it's over. You don't need to see this in your notebook anymore when you open it up. So the way you actually close it, you never delete it. You just pretty much take it out of the view of your project. The view of your OneNote session, and you just right click on the notebook itself, not on the meeting minutes or not on the sections, but just the notebook itself, and you say close this notebook. And there, it's closed. It's no longer in your view. Now, if sometime later you do need to open it up again, you just go to where you saved the notebook. In this case, and there will be a notebook called Open OneNote, and there it's back again and I can review and do the data. So you can close it. You can go back into it later if you need to, or you can also tell somebody else if it's on especially if it's on a SharePoint drive or it's on a network folder, you can tell somebody else where the notebook's at for them to be able to reference the information as well. That's the other thing about OneNote is that if you do have multiple people that you're working with, you can do this as a bit of a collaboration as well. So that you don't have to be the sole person that sees it. You can go ahead and put in a shared location, either a network folder or SharePoint drive, and other people can pull up the information. OneNote does have some versioning and some indications if somebody's made an update to a page that you were working on. So you don't have to worry about that. But I'm not going to go into too much detail on that for time. But other than that, that's basically a very quick, very run through of some of the basics of OneNote, and with the specific details of taking meeting minutes and distributing them out. So again, it's very much just starting out, creating a little template for your agenda, your conference information, your attendees, copying it over to a new page, take your meeting minutes. When you're done taking your meeting minutes, click the email page. That sets everything up nicely in the email. And then you just simply type in the recipients and send out your meeting minutes. So I hope this helps. If there's anybody has any comments or questions, feel free to post. But I thank you for your time and have a good day or evening. Thanks.